Welcome, dear friends, and thank you for choosing to spend a few minutes with us as we explore the latest happenings inside the ever-captivating House of Windsor. Today's story begins with a remarkably modest ceremony, no trumpets, no balcony, yet within it lie almost all the themes that have defined this reign so far: duty, sacrifice, quiet resilience, and the delicate art of timing royal messages in a world that never stops analyzing royal motives. The scene was set not in a grand palace stateroom, but in a sun-filled reception suite, its sash windows thrown open to let in the first warmth of the English summer and the soft hum of London beyond the gates. There, flanked by standard-bearers from veterans' associations and a small phalanx of palace aides, stood His Majesty's indefatigable sister, the Princess Royal. Princess Anne, whose schedule is the stuff of legend among royal watchers, had come to present a centenarian named Mr. Geoffrey Roberts with the insignia of Member of the Order of the British Empire, the MBE. Ordinarily, a 100-year-old being honoured for charity work would merit a respectful footnote. Yet this investiture resonated far beyond the polite applause inside the room. First, because of Mr. Roberts's personal story. As a young man he parachuted into the cauldron of Operation Market Garden, was captured amidst the disastrous fight for the bridge at Arnhem, endured brutal months in a prisoner-of-war camp, and once freed, resolved to spend the rest of his life helping comrades while ensuring the fallen were never forgotten. Second, because Buckingham Palace chose to publicize the presentation only hours after King Charles III had released his annual Armed Forces Day message, a tribute that conspicuously omitted any reference to his younger son, Prince Harry, himself a decorated Afghanistan veteran. That omission, innocent or not, sparked the usual swirl of commentary. Was it a mere oversight in a short royal statement? Or another sign that relations between the monarch and the self-exiled Duke of Sussex remain glacial? Into that swirl stepped Mr. Roberts, a living embodiment of the sort of lifelong service before self that the monarchy cherishes, and Princess Anne, whose reputation for relentless hard work makes her the undisputed moral compass of the House of Windsor. By spotlighting their reunion, she had stood beside him last September, at Arnhem's 80th anniversary vigil. The palace appeared to nudge public attention away from a family rift, and towards a narrative of duty rewarded, sacrifice remembered. A life forged in fire. Geoffrey Roberts was 20 when, on a grey September morning in 1944, he boarded a lumbering Dakota aircraft and took part in the largest airborne assault the world had ever seen. Operation Market Garden sought to seize a chain of bridges in the Netherlands, outflank Hitler's Siegfried Line, and end the war by Christmas. The Arnhem Bridge was the final link, but Allied planners underestimated both German strength and the vagaries of Dutch September weather. Parachutes drifted off course, radios failed, armored relief columns bogged down. Roberts's battalion fought street to street, house to house, until ammunition and hope ran out. He was captured, transported east by cattle truck, and like thousands of fellow prisoners, forced down a mineshaft each dawn to hew coal for the Reich's faltering war machine. Those conditions, near freezing temperatures, choking coal dust, relentless hunger, killed many. Roberts survived on a stubborn sense of comradeship, he later told schoolchildren during living history workshops. When liberation came in spring 1945, he weighed barely 8 stone. Yet almost immediately he turned that ordeal into a pledge. If he lived to see peace, he would spend whatever years remained helping the families of those who had not returned. True to that vow, he volunteered for decades with veterans' hospitals, helped establish bursary funds for orphaned Dutch children, and became a driving force behind the annual Arnhem commemorations, events that draw British, Polish and Dutch parachutists to march side by side across the lawns and cemeteries of Gelderland each September. It was there, in 2023, that Princess Anne and Mr. Roberts first met. She listened as he described scrambling through back gardens under sniper fire. She laid a single gerbera at the grave of his platoon sergeant. According to eyewitnesses, she promised they would meet again, hence the quiet symbolism of this week's investiture. Anne's impeccable timing. The Princess Royal could have slotted Mr. Roberts into any of the dozens of investiture ceremonies she carries out yearly on behalf of the king. But by inviting cameras to capture their reunion on the same day the Armed Forces Day message dominated headlines, she allowed the palace to emphasize continuity, even as younger royals grapple with health crises or reside in California. The crown is still shaking the hands of centurions who kept Europe free. It was, to use palace parlance, a good news picture, and one that subtly counterbalanced whatever talking points morning TV shows had prepared about Harry's omission. Anne's presence also reminded viewers of an often forgotten truth: while Charles, William, Catherine, and Dupree exit, Harry attract the lion's share of press. It is Anne who logs the greatest mileage for the monarchy. Last year alone she undertook more than 460 engagements, many of them in garrison towns or shipyards far from flashbulbs. Her respect among serving soldiers is near universal. If any royal can appear with a Second World War veteran and never seem patronizing, it is she. Charles, duty and the invisible son. And yet the absence of Prince Harry's name in the King's Armed Forces Day address cannot be dismissed as mere oversight. Courtiers draft these messages weeks in advance. Every phrase is weighed. Privately, some insiders suggest that mentioning Harry might have required mentioning his decision to take the Home Office to court over security costs, or the renewed controversy over his book claims, subjects the palace wants to keep in the rearview mirror. Better, they evidently judged, to salute the forces collectively than risk headlines linking father and son in yet another proxy skirmish. But timing is not coincidence in royal communications. By moving immediately from a generic salute to a singular salute, Geoffrey Roberts's story, the palace ensured that the public's lasting visual memory was not an omitted name, but a beaming centenarian receiving a medal from the Princess Royal. Critics call it tactical distraction. Sympathizers call it clever stewardship of a narrative bigger than any intrafamily feud. The MBE and what it means. To non-Britons the letters MBE may seem arcane, yet they carry real weight. Instituted by George V in 1917 to widen honours beyond aristocratic battlefield gallantry, the Order of the British Empire has 5 classes. MBE recognises sustained, hands-on service to community. For a man of Roberts's generation, who left school at 14 to deliver telegrams before joining up, such recognition caps a lifetime of work seldom captured by history books. The medal's crimson ribbon glinted against the dark suit he had chosen for the ceremony. His granddaughter later told reporters he had declined to replace that suit for 30 years, joking that it'll likely see me out. When Princess Anne pinned the insignia to his lapel, witnesses say she murmured, "Still serving, aren't you?" He answered, voice wavering but clear, "As long as breath permits." The exchange lasted seconds yet encapsulated the monarchy's reciprocal pact with veterans: "You gave your youth, we will guard your twilight with honor." A lesson in narrative craftsmanship. Observers may debate whether the palace is weaponizing good news stories to offset difficult family dynamics. They may question whether Harry's service ought to have been explicitly mentioned. But one lesson is undeniable: the household understands the power of juxtaposition. Within 48 hours royal social media feeds moved from a mild PR headache, "Why no nod to the Duke on Armed Forces Day?" to a portrait of loyalty and longevity that commanded universal admiration. The crisis management could serve as case study material for press secretaries worldwide. Yet cynicism feels misplaced when one stands in the same room as a 100-year-old who drilled coal under guard towers and still rises each dawn to polish his shoes before giving talks at primary schools. Mr. Roberts's dignity disarms politics. As one veteran in attendance put it, whatever rose the family's having, today was about an Arnhem lad who came home and never stopped giving. What next? Later this summer Princess Anne will travel to Normandy to mark 80 years since the liberation of Caen. Insiders expect the palace will again spotlight individual stories of courage, and again the narrative may brush, intentionally or not, against ongoing debates over which royals carry which burdens. Meanwhile, King Charles, undergoing treatments, but determined to keep a full diary, is said to be planning another of his quiet receptions for Commonwealth service organizations. The message is unmistakable: his cancer may demand tactical pauses, yet the grand theme of duty continues. For Prince Harry, miles away in Montecito, reports suggest another invitation has gone to Buckingham Palace requesting a private meeting between the monarch and his grandchildren. Courtiers, mindful of diaries and diplomacy, are non-committal. But if such a meeting occurs, expect the palace to choreograph it with the same narrative discipline: service, reconciliation, continuity. Final reflection. In a week when headlines might have centered on omission, the Crown steered focus to inclusion, honoring a man who, 8 decades ago, leapt into a Dutch dawn for king and country, and who a century later still calls himself lucky to serve. Amid the churn of modern monarchy, health bulletins, family litigation, constitutional debates, Geoffrey Roberts's steady salute reminds Britain what endures. And that, ultimately, is where palace strategy and public sentiment meet. For all the noise, a simple investiture can outshine any controversy. A 100-year-old, a princess, a medal, 3 components, 1 radiant message: duty transcends dispute.